Hi there, and welcome to the Solution Squad digital presentation comic. I'm Jim McLean, the creator of Solution Squad. I've been a math teacher for 30 years, and I created this to basically teach my students how to do math using some math-based superheroes. So right here we see the opening title screen based on the 60s animation from Hanna-Barbera, which would often feature the cast of the cartoon, the title of the cartoon, and the title of the story. You can I usually put this up here in the front of my classroom to begin the class, so that when students walk in, they're immediately drawn to it and say, hey, what's this all about? We're going to do something different today. As you progress to the next page, we'll see the SOHCAHTOA, the Solution Squad's headquarters. SOHCAHTOA, of course, is the acronym for the trigonometric ratios, sine, cosine, and tangent. Just a little in-joke for you, the math teacher. And if you follow the words, it also draws your attention to the little silhouetted figures on the bow of the ship. As you go to each screen in progression, you'll notice this is a little bit different than a normal comic book because captions will pop up, like the one just did in the lower left-hand corner, which lets you control the pace of the story a little bit. You can control when certain word balloons come up, for example. So you'll want to review this ahead of time or preview it ahead of time so that you can be prepared for what's going to come next. So La Calculadora right here is featured as the leader, and you see for the first time that she's using her little iPad type device with the SS symbol on the back. And she's introducing Radical, the newest member of the Solution Squad, into the team. This is like I was saying, some of the panels don't come up immediately, so you can control the pace of the story. So as she's introducing Radical, he who doesn't even have his name or symbol yet, you can see the pensive look on his face, and students can then anticipate what's about to come next. And when he gets his name and his symbol, as she taps on his chest, it appears. So this, in an ordinary comic book, that might be spoiled because those two panels are going to appear side by side. So once again, you get to control the pace of the story. This next sequence of 6 panels describes who the Solution Squad is made up of. For example, this is Absolutia, who's the founder of the team, but not the leader, because she tends to be very emotional. She can be a hothead, or she can be very cold. So you get a little joke there. Then we have La Calculadora, who is the leader of the team. Then we have Equality, who's the second in command, and possibly the most powerful person on the team. And then we have the ordered pair, made up of Abscissa, who runs along the x-axis, Ordinate, her twin brother, who flies along the y-axis and dives as well, and then Radical, who's got the powers that are the most hard to describe, as he creates and moves things along the hypotenuses of invisible right triangular prisms. So basically he makes invisible triangles, and he can surf along the hypotenuse or move things along the hypotenuse, including himself. And once again, we can control the pace of the story. She swears Radical into the team by introducing what the bylaws are, never to kill anybody. And then he agrees, and then she swears him into the team. The next panel has the battle cry, Defendit Numerus, which of course in Latin means there is safety in numbers. Just a little math pun. You'll see that the comic is full of math puns. They're interrupted and have to go quickly. They have a pneumatic tube that takes them throughout the ship. And you can point out in the second panel here that she's handing over the keys, and he's very excited about this, but if you look at the other members of the team, they're not so sure about him flying the plane. Now we are introduced here to Uno, the team's universal nanorobotic operative. We've got a little footnote here. And this footnote provides a nice opportunity to talk about scientific notation, something that's really pretty much underserved in most of the math textbooks we see today. And then as they get on board the plane, there's obviously a joke there happening between Equality and Abscissa, and then the seatbelt clicks, and of course the SS symbol for Solution Squad is actually a tessellation, and there's an activity that goes along with that in the lesson plans that are available for purchase at teacherspayteachers.com. Okay, then the La Calculadora is telling Radical to take it nice and easy, and obviously the joke continues between Equality and Absolutia. And that is a whisper balloon. I should point that out. Whisper balloons are not like regular word balloons. Whisper balloons indicate that the characters are whispering. This is the little nod to the Batman cartoon or Batman TV show from 1966, where Radical's mimicking what Batman says, and then La Calculadora says, "Wait, what?" And then we see the afterburner kicking in on the plane while it's still in the boat. So here, once again, is another feature of the digital comic that we wouldn't see in the print comic, where we have rack focus going on. The ship is in focus in the back while the plane's going so fast it's out of focus. And while our quote-unquote camera focuses on the plane, then the ship goes out of focus. And then you can also talk about the Doppler effect, as the plane is apparently going already faster than the speed of sound, as the sound effect appears in the third transition of this same panel. And they're all terrified, of course. And you can also notice that Absolutia is making a little ice there. My students sometimes speculate that she peed, but, you know, that goes with the territory with middle school. And as they arrive, you can see that when Uno had previously said they would be arriving in 45 minutes, they actually arrived 25 minutes later. So you could do a little percent change problem right there if you wanted to. And then the punchline for the joke is coming that Equality and Abscissa were in on. Yes, his flight test was multiple choice. So they'll knock on multiple choice tests. That never hurts. This sequence right here is very nice because it shows the relationship between Abscissa and Ordinate. Abscissa is the one who goes first, and she runs along the x-axis horizontally. Her symbol is an X. And then when she returns, La Calculadora's hair is mussed up, and she asks Ordinate to look at it from the sky. And so her hair is once again mussed up. We have a little joke you might want to consider a ponytail. But what's really interesting about this sequence is that the X goes first and goes horizontally, the Y goes second and goes vertically. And that introduces the students to the idea of graphing an ordered pair. 2 seconds later, Ordinate's hovering 35 meters above the ground. So that gives us a little rate, distance equals rate times time problem that you can do. I tried to put math in as much of it as I possibly could. And all of a sudden, it occurs to Ordinate that there's something familiar here and then people are in trouble. And then La Calculadora already has a plan. So as he returns, they're going to look this device over. This is a thought balloon that just popped up by Radical's head. So it indicates that he's thinking, not saying that out loud. You could indicate that to students in case they've never read a comic book before. And of course, he gets into trouble and he clicks the button, although he probably shouldn't have. And that then separates the team from La Calculadora, who's trapped outside this weird red force field, and brings us to our problem. They're offline, inside, cut off from communication from their leader, and they blame Radical, of course, but this is not the first time that they've faced this particular villain, and so he's revealed. This is the poser, and he gives them a little problem that the students will have to solve. It's sort of like, you know, what happened in Die Hard with a Vengeance, although hopefully your kids haven't seen it since it's rated R. But there's a trap, and they have to solve the puzzle to get out of the trap. And so we have a little poem here. And then, a prime number code. Now, if your kids aren't familiar with prime numbers, this is a good opportunity to introduce them a little bit. And then the team realizes that this is a prime number code, and they're going to have to try to solve this code to get out of the force field before the bomb explodes. And Equality comes up with the idea that we're going to make a prime number sieve. And, of course, Radical, being the dumb guy that he is, really doesn't know what that is. So Equality explains it to him. And this is the best thing I could come up with. Originally, I came up with sifting for gold. But I think this one actually works better. It's more relatable to students. Everybody, I hope, knows how to make a little bit of pasta. And so their plan is to then write the numbers from 2 through 100 in the dirt and create a prime number sieve. So at this point, you stop the comic and then you do the activity that comes with it, the prime number sieve, and the students will be hosted by La Calculadora, who's of course trapped outside the force field, and they can be working on it as well. They're going to essentially solve the same problem that the team does here. So at this point, the team is doing this on the inside. Your students can be doing it on the outside. And you can just pause it right here, and they can follow the instructions step by step. So we circle the 2. We get rid of all the multiples of 2. We talk about divisibility, what even numbers are, ending in 2, 4, 6, 8, and 0. Then we get rid of all the multiples of 3. You can also point out that numbers that have already been gotten rid of were also multiples of 2. So if they're multiples of, multiples of 2 and multiples of 3, then they also happen to be multiples of 6. And as we notice that we get rid of fewer and fewer numbers, the 5s, anything that ends in 5 has to go, and there's only a couple left. And the 7s, there are only 3. What happens when they're all gone? That's when we are out of composite numbers and only prime numbers are left behind. Now this is the surprising part where Radical comes up with a theory that we only need to check the numbers up to 10 because 10 is the square root of 100. Once we've already found all the prime numbers under 10, we're not going to have any more above 10 because there would be nothing to pair them up with. Factors pairing up around the square root, which is what Radical knows about. And sure enough, we take a look at 11, and all the multiples of 11 are already gone, and they're done. So Abscissa circles the rest of the prime numbers. By this point, the students will already have this list on their paper. This will confirm it for them. So this makes an automatic check for the lesson that you're doing in class. They type the answer in. Now, students are going to have this answer also, we hope. And the force field bursts, and they are successful. And then the calculator confirms the answer is Eratosthenes of Cyrene. And now the adventure really takes place because now the math is out of the way, the big fight can occur. So they come up with a plan. They find out the communications are being monitored from the outside. This is Absolutia getting angry. That's why her hair is turning red in her eyes. And so because they're being listened to, the calculator comes up with a prime number message for the students herself. Your students can solve this, and even though their plan out loud is to come up from the floor, the answer to the puzzle is actually skylight, and they come in through the skylight, taking the poser by surprise. And just in case you thought the poser was just a ripoff of the Riddler with his question mark and his puzzles, we find out very quickly, as Radical does too, that no, he's not just like the Riddler. He's also a huge shapeshifter who has lots and lots of options to kill and maim and destroy. Kids like that sort of thing. And unfortunately, Radical gets knocked out. Fortunately, he got a fist instead of the axe, but that's okay. Little math in there, 183.2 days. You can talk about what part of a year that is. And then there's the big fight. And as the calculator notes, Absolutia raised the temperature 32.7 degrees. You could throw a little math in there for that too. And it looks like she's about to melt him. And once again, your ability to pace the story yourself comes in handy because she's not going to melt him. She's going to freeze him. And so she basically turns him into a big poser sickle. Got a little ultra-violent joke in there because it's comic books. That's what we have to do. And then you can actually see Radical's power being exhibited here. This provides a nice little opportunity because we actually had this drawn in the dimensions of 5 by 12 by 13 Pythagorean triple. So you could make a little math problem out of that. And the poser's frozen body is being loaded into the Spectrum van. And then we have a little joke. Because we treat violence actually fairly seriously in this strip, Radical probably has a concussion because he was knocked out cold, but that's not going to stop his teammates from making a joke about him. And so as the plane takes off, they welcome him as being really one of the team, and they take off into the sunset in the coordinate plane, and they're all happy, battle cry, the end. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this first story of Solution Squad, and I hope you know that there will be much, much more. Please return to solutionsquad.net and take another look around. Thanks for joining me.